Well, hello guys, we are live. Wow, another month has shot past. I don't know about you, but I actually got some modelling done in the last month, and that's what I'm going to share with you. Well, some of it anyway. So first of all, I hope everything's okay. You can hear me, that I'm not flickering with lights, etc. And Timber says 5x5, which is good. Talking of lights, I left these ones on Monday night overnight by mistake, the ones on here, and I came down Tuesday morning to a hideous smell of sort of like dust burning, slightly chemically, not very smoky. But yeah, so I tried them earlier and there was this sizzling noise. So I'm like, they're staying off till I fix it. But yeah, so yeah, I have done two or three YouTube videos this month to do with Outbound Station and also Thunderbirds. Now, I did regret saying I would do Thunderbirds just because of timing, because I had so much on, but actually it was really nice to get out there and do some modelling, and that's what I'm going to talk about this evening. Because yes, I've done an 8-minute YouTube video, but in 8 minutes you're not going to go into the detail of decisions and why things work and the little tips, and I just find I miss so many little tips out, and people will put in comments, oh, you need to remember to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I just can't fit it in 8 minutes. So am I letting people down by doing shorter videos? I don't know, but that's what YouTube likes. So that's what I do. So hi to everybody who I've already said hello to and crept in since then. Shergel, hi Shergel. And Neil, hi Neil. And I think that's it. But I do need to say thanks to Digger, Timber and Norm, my moderators. They will keep you in line should you get out of it. It's more the adult chatbots we like to keep in line. I'm sure you guys will be fine. Though every now and then somebody makes a comment and it gets deleted by them or retracted by them, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they said, because I didn't notice it. So protecting me from whatever. Thanks, guys. Wow. So I actually very positive at the moment about a Kickstarter. It's been a bit of a downer year up to date. In fact, almost like a full, not just 2025, but this time last year. I'd say my last successful Kickstarter was summer last year. And since then, it's been a little bit up or down. So I've been trying really hard, but not achieving very much. This time, my Kickstarter is actually up to £7,000, which may not sound a lot much to a lot of people, but for me, I think my best ever Kickstarters have been 8 something. So this is on track to be a really good Kickstarter for me, and I'm getting to the stage where I really need to make a profit in the company, get some cash in the bank account, do those sorts of things. So it's really a relief that it's doing well, but I am going to plug it. The pin is at the top, the pinned link is at the top of chat, and it's also in the comments if you are interested in backing it. And if we get time, or I haven't waffled too much about other things, I've got the clutter video up to put that up and pause it and talk about it, perhaps just a little bit more in depth if needed. And on the on the sort of write-up, I've also put some other links, and I just want to talk about those as well. First up, clutter video and the Thunderbirds video, the 8 minutes, are linked. My Kickstarter is linked because, hey, I have to do that marketing thing. I don't like it. I'm too British to market my work. It's like, oh, no, you should all just know about it. I shouldn't need to blow my own trumpet. But actually, there's 2 other Kickstarters I've put on there. One is David Sheff, he used to be Squamous Miniatures. He does amazing stuff. He's very out there at the moment with Spectre. It's bio-gothic sort of aliens in space, but they're kind of like going to digest you, weird type of aliens. I have to admit, I'm probably never going to print it, but I've backed because he always does just such amazing stuff, and it's always very cheap on the Kickstarter and becomes a lot more expensive afterwards. So if you haven't seen it, the link is there. Go and back it. His last one was just so clever, and he's got these little he sort of twists the top and all the little pods open on a circular bit. It's just so clever. The guy is incredibly gifted, and he used to be a toy designer before, so for a company. So yeah, definitely, he's great. And then the other link, get all my plugs out the way at the beginning before everybody gets here. The other link is for Ben from Second Dynasty. He did a Frontier earlier this year for Gridforge for Cocytus Station. It didn't do as well as it could have because my mini factory wasn't perhaps the best timing, the best place for it. So he's now got it on Kickstarter. I think it's now called Gridforge Exoplanet, and it's a sort of a station, an outpost on a planet. So it's got some rocks and it's got all the usual engineering and hangar bays, and he's doing executive offices at the moment. So a little bit of exciting, but it's also Gridforge, so it matches my campaign, and actually it's his system that I'm using. So there we are, my plugs are out the way and we can get back to modelling and chat. So, a load of people commented to me, and I've just, let's have a look. So Neil says, go mods. Yep, go mods. Norm says, I felt this one was going to be successful. Thanks, Norm. I'm just trying to work out at the moment. I think the next one will be like a medical station. I've got 4 main things I want to do. I want to do an industrial area, I want to do a market district, I want to do an entertainment district, but actually carrying on the space station theme, because this one has done well, I actually might do a medical research lab, which can have hospital vibes, research lab vibes, all in the future. So hey, we'll see. But I was going to do it for December. It won't be done for November, just isn't enough time. But everyone says don't do December and January, so it probably won't be out until February next year now. Anyway, and Jaw 21, you're 11 months, 28 days, 23 hours early. My Instagram story. Yes, someone told me that. I don't understand why. I just literally picked like today. So how did I end up with something that's a year in the future? I don't know, but anyway, thankfully the story only lasts 24 hours, otherwise it might be quite a while. But yeah, I don't know what I did. Finger trouble. And Spear and Glue, welcome. Thank you for subbing. My YouTube subs are actually going down at the moment. I'd love to get to 100,000. I'm on 95,000 and going down. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, 22 viewers on here, please go and subscribe, because I just want to not go down. I will hopefully put out, I've got a lot of projects I'm halfway through. So over the next couple of months, I would like to get a bit more onto the YouTube channel. But I just need to get better at actually doing stuff. So yeah, but welcome. And who else have we got? Neil Murray, already backed. 'Tis an awesome collection in Outbound Station. Thank you. I'm really happy with it, actually. I've really enjoyed doing it. It's quite fun. Yeah, it is always it's one of those things. You want to enjoy what you're doing, but you also need to make money on it. So you have to do something people want, but I won't do Warhammer. And to be honest, Games Workshop, it's so litigious. I don't even want to go anywhere near it. So nothing I have is remotely Warhammer related. I've never played it. I'm not interested in it. I don't like the aesthetic. I like clean, hard sci-fi, but that doesn't generally have a lot of detail. So I'm kind of trying to come up with Star Wars, just had Aliens on and watched that. I'm literally just played Fallen Order last weekend and this weekend. Really enjoy playing through a game that I've played before, and I know how to do it, and you can just go through. And there's whole sections that I'm like, I didn't go into the crashed Venator. I didn't run around the swamp for 2 days trying to work out how to get out of it. I just knew I pulled that, froze it, and climbed up it. It just was so quick to do. And I didn't go and get any of the boxes. I just got some stim cancers and extra life. But I didn't really worry about collecting stuff. And it's so much fun. But when I get to Survivor, that's in the Coruscant lower levels. That's where it starts. And that's what I'll be playing next weekend. And I really, really love that lower levels concept, which is Scut City upstairs. So I want to get back to doing more around the city as well as a space station. So everything that I have is interiors that I can use, but I will start doing some exteriors for my own use as well. And my RPG guys, who may or may not be on, because I know Tim and Tig have been at Aldershot for that show, and other Doug's always busy, and Mike's working. So they're my RPG guys, and I kind of we live in Scott City. That's where we're based. My RPG, Star Wars, FFG, Age of Empire. So I'm always having to do stuff in Scott City, and I haven't done the models yet, and I want to be able to go, here's the model of Ordo's armoury when you go there. Here's the leaping frog where you go for lunch. Here's Lynn Garcet's, you know, she's got a kind of tech shop where she'll slice stuff for you. So yeah, I want to create all that. Okay, so what else was on? So Lindsay's build says he subbed about a year ago. Well done, Lindsay. Am I off screen? Probably need to shuffle my chair this way a bit. Oh, and put the bucket. And Norm says, and also check to see that you are subbed. YouTube is notorious for desubbing. Yeah, I think, I mean, at the moment, I doubt many people are going through unsubbing, but I'm losing about 50 people a month, and not, well, I'm losing 50 more people a month than I'm gaining. So there we go. And Digger says, and share Kathy's channel on your community page. We'll get the channel to 100k. Thank you guys. I've been stuck at 95 for a year and a half now. And I keep saying I'm going to push and do it. And then I just never get around to doing the videos. So I've got some underwater ones planned. I've got some about printing minis in FDM. I've got, which I haven't tried yet. I've got the V Squad printed. I've got some Bad Batch printed. I've just got loads of stuff printed that I need to finish. I've got an ATTE from the Clone Wars. I want to do that. You know, my gunship did well as a video, and I was going to put a diorama for that, and I never have. So they all need sorting and doing, and I've still got the Titanfall helmet that's been going for like 4 years now, I think. So that's going to get finished. Yeah. Yeah. Rameson Express says, you must build something with a popular name, maybe a scene from Lord of the Rings in a book nook, then you'll break the 100k. I mostly do Star Wars and Jurassic Park, Thunderbirds. Everything I do on my YouTube channel is generally either for my own Kickstarters or well-known names of really big IPs. So I don't think, Lord of the Rings is fantasy and I do sci-fi, but that was what I was doing before, you know, so there we go. Hi, John. I was just saying you're probably at Aldershot still. Tim's hoping to be on by 9. There we go. So my RPG guys are arriving. Great group. They put up with me GMing, and I haven't even never done an RPG before, and I'm GMing the group. John has all these great ideas, and I'm like, oh, I'm just doing my Kickstarter. Come back to me in a month. John, we're going there soon. Darth Jar Jar. Yeah, Darth Jar Jar is out there. John did some stats for me as Tig for Darth Jar Jar, and we are going to have him probably actually in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be fun. So there we go. Right, I'm going to put the video to play whilst I remember. So I think I went through the box last time. So this obviously opens with the box shots of what was in the box. And it was amusingly funny. I think right at the end, I go through what I didn't use. But they sent me this brief and this box from Thunderbirds, and apparently it's about 185 quid's worth of models. So I wanted to just have somewhere that I could display them. But, you know, I'm too old to have watched Tracy Island Thunderbirds on Blue Peter. I watched Blue Peter as a child, but Tracy Island was in the 90s. I was at university and work in the 90s. So these were lovely models though, and I've still got Thunderbirds all around the house that I need to do. I'm in the middle of a Thunderbird 3 hanger and have been for 2 years. So I need to fix that. So this was actually a really great excuse to just do something with Thunderbirds, because I do love it as a sort of feel. I like the look and feel of it. I grew up on it. I do enjoy it. But these instructions, I wasn't going to do Tracy Island. I was just not going to do Tracy Island. It is just, yeah. I mean, like, it was massive when I mocked it out. Massive. So I decided instead to use the Thunderbirds Are Go logo. So this is actually it's supposed to be Blue Peter. And then I went and 3D printed something. I could have cut these out of card, but I didn't know how I would get the thickness. And 3D printing, just for me, I didn't buy anything in for this. I set myself the task. I'd have to use what I have in the house. I wouldn't buy anything in. I had to use up stuff. So it could only be things that I'd already used. So I did create these, and I did use an STL I'd already designed for Tracy Villa. And all I'd done at that point on that was the base for the Villa. I've also done the roundhouse for the Thunderbird 3 launch, but this is a Thunderbird 1 launch I needed to do. And it was up to the swimming pool because it's iconic. And I'd done the swimming pool and not a lot else. So I spent a whole evening sort of cutting out the one bit badly. It was completely non-manifold, so I then cut it out again a different way, and it took like 10 minutes. It's just like Blender for you. But I really loved this logo, and I really love how this looks. And it's just, to me, this makes the just makes the whole thing. This just, yeah, I think just that on its own looks cool. Even in grey, it looks cool. I really liked it. Do I give that a hint? So then all I had to do was paint everything white. Now on the logo, the sides are white and the fronts are coloured. So I painted everything white with spray white Army Painter spray white primer, because actually I find it coats really well and it's normally good quality. I do occasionally do minis with it, but I mostly do terrain. And yeah, that was it for the logo. I need to paint the base though. So once it was dry, I took that off and then just painted the base black. But then it was on to planning. And this is where you never really get the thing in the 8 minutes. I was going to use the Pringles tube. In the end, I got everything out and laid it out just to see what would fit. Spent ages embarrassingly trying to work out how to fire Lady Penelope's missiles. I don't know. Yeah, no idea how you do it. After 20 minutes of fiddling, or 10 minutes sped up, you know, I never worked it out. And all the bits just fell out the back. So, yeah, they're just there. I have to go and find them actually and put them somewhere in the box or something, because I just couldn't get them to do anything. It was weird. So, right, let's see what people are doing in chat while I now spend ages trying to work out how to get that to work. Darth Jar Jar, Shergel says, is no match for Darth Gonzo. Maybe, but John hasn't started Darth Gonzo. And John is actually in trouble with our group for making the bad guys, because I've never played an RPG before, and so John very, very kindly goes in and does all my NPCs for me, unless they're from like a book, and then I've just nabbed them out of Stugoff, which is a website that's got them all listed. But he does them too hard, so everyone's like, we can't kill these guys. It's like, look at John, he started them. But I really appreciate him doing them all for me. And he's got loads of ideas for all of the Scut City gangs and lowlives that he statted. So that's coming up soon. When I get back to Scut City after this Kickstarter's finished, I'm going to spend a month sort of sorting out some of the non-Kickstarter 3D print design I want to do. Yeah, hopefully it will show. One of the things is finishing Maul's Scimitar that I did 2 years ago. I've got the Maul's Scimitars, well actually I've got one on the side, so I'm looking over there, is the one with the ball at the back and the big pointy front from the Phantom Menace. And I designed it and someone says, has anyone done one? I was like, yep. So I've got to go and get it sorted for them. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's a bit too close to IP. It's like screen accurate. So yeah. Yeah, Darth Nadir or Nadia. So Sugar. Right, Raymond Express, by the way, is this little diorama behind you on the left lower edge from the pictures with the horses? Pictures with the horses. This one over here. That is actually my friend Nigel's design for a modular group layout we were going to do in ON30 that never really got off the ground. But he just mocked it up in card. It's beautiful. I love it. So I kept it. Bless him. Seen Nigel in ages. He's not doing very well at the moment. But yeah. So yes, no, it was a mock-up for a layout we never did. But you can tell he was an art teacher. It's really good. So just back to the video for a sec. This is PVC board that I bought for actually it was the first time I met Second Dynasty. It was the Traveller Severna Spaceport. I've got bits of it around the house still. And I had some left over. Well, that's what I bought it for originally. So Norm says, I love the 3D printed Lego. Thanks, Norm. Lindsay's build says, I watched Thunderbirds when I was young back in the 60s. I watched it in the 70s, probably. I was born in 73, so I didn't watch it in the 60s, but it was on repeat a lot. And I also watched the new version, Thunderbirds Are Go. I've watched them since lockdown, so in the last 5 years, I watched Thunderbirds Are Go and Thunderbirds, the originals. And I have to say, it's so dated now with how the people sort of... Scott Tracy, no media. He's just so non-diplomatic when he arrives. He's such an idiot, really. And the new version of Scott Tracy is a really nice bloke that I would actually like to meet and talk to. Whereas the Scott Tracy from the 60s is a bit of a... yeah, you're not that nice a person. So actually it's interesting to see the changes in a TV series. One's animated and sort of puppets. And it had real dioramas, because you can actually go and... Adam Savage had a video on when he went to see them at Weta Workshop, who built them. And they had like the palms and a wheel and they went down and stuff. Really clever. So there was actually real models in it, but the vehicles were all CGI. And it was just interesting to see how times have changed watching the two series. I loved them both for different reasons. So... Andy T, are you going to Scale Model World in November? Please stop by the North Somerset Modeller stand if you do. We're hoping for a gold award. Oh, wonderful. I wasn't planning on it. I might do. All my friends from Solihull Scale Model Club are going. So I think they're going to go by train. So I might go with them. I haven't just got that far ahead at the moment as to agreeing. I think we've got to meet at the end of October first beforehand. So I'll have a chat with them then. And yeah, but I could go. I'll just buy a ticket on the day if I do. But yeah, love it. It's a good show and I probably should go. So yeah, probably on Saturday if we go. It's cute. 10 minutes even sped up and me trying to get the plastic off the back of these. But yeah, Somerset, North Somerset Modeller stand. Right. I'll have forgotten. Remind me on the next live stream before then. Oh, actually... I don't know if there will be before then, will I? We'll see. All right. Niall says, expert use of wheelie bin. Oh, you gotta love wheelie bins. They're so good. I bet you kept those boxes for those cool die-cast. I have, Norm, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to. As a rule, I don't keep boxes, but I can't quite decide. And I don't worry about collectability because, you know, whatever. I've got too much stuff that could be collectible to want to keep all the boxes, considering I don't really have any loft space anymore and I haven't got enough space in my house for just boxes. So I'm really bad at getting rid of boxes. But I use the models in displays. So when I get them out of the box, that is. Otherwise, they're still in the box. So yeah, and I'm not quite sure what to do with them. At the moment, they're just on the floor. So this is all hot glue. This is actually a wireless, hands-free, battery-operated hot glue gun that won't do a huge amount of hot glue in any one go, but is so useful for projects like this because you don't have to worry about the wires. It just all fits. But I'm sorry, because it looks really dark on screen at this point. You know, I think I had a filter on the main video and I was going to put it on here and then I forgot. So it just looks dark, which at the moment, you know, you can see the glue going on there, but it can look a bit like the black hole of Calcutta, as they used to call it, but it's probably not called that anymore. Anyway, it just disappears a bit at the moment. But yeah, it was a good test. Right, and I did have to cut the glue away at the back to fit the logo right towards the back. I bet. So, Portland 182 says, push down on the suspension to fire the missiles. I looked everywhere for a button. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to pull her off, which I can now do because, you know, it's not glued in at all. So I'm going to have to pull her off and see if I can find where I put the missiles and see if I can do it. But there's a missile that comes in the front and 4 that go in the back. And the ones that go in the back, 1 clicks in, and then if you put the other ones in and then tip the car, they just fall out again. So I don't really understand what they do either. Anyway, so Ravenson says, I haven't seen the Thunderbirds series in TV. I'm from Germany, and I don't know if it was running then. I only know them from a music video. Oh, I didn't know there was a music video, but there we go. We live and learn. Ravenson says, maybe I should try to get the DVD or Blu-ray soon. Hope it's available. They've just brought out the 60th anniversary Blu-rays, etc., etc., etc. So it's definitely on DVD and Blu-ray. It was also on streaming in the UK. I think it was on ITVX or something. So we could just stream it. So yeah. And hi, Portland. Welcome to the chat. I see Digger got in there. So yes. So Ravenson says yes, this one. That'll be that one. Sorry. Keeps flashing at me. So Spoogaloo says, what no Thunderbirds 5, 6? So I don't know which one Thunderbirds 6 is, because I don't think on the streaming that I watched it had 6, so I can't remember 6. 5 is a pre-order still, so it isn't out, and I'm probably not going to spend the 30 or 40, I think it was 30 something quid on it, considering I've got a 5 in a box model that I can make. So yeah, I haven't. So Niall says, Traveller is a great RPG, so versatile. Traveller is also the one that you can die when you're making your character. So yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying, I read a lot of Star Wars fan fiction, watch a lot of Star Wars. So I'm really enjoying and I've had a lot of designs in the Star Wars universe. So I'm really enjoying being in the Star Wars universe because I don't have to read the books to create the places they go to. I can just create them from games that I've played, books that I've read, places that I've gone. I can follow entire storylines from books that I know they haven't read, so that I'm able to create a story if they go off on a tangent, which they're very good at going off on tangents, and I'll be able to just add stuff in. So I'm not in a rush to pick up something else at the moment, but I know a lot of people that do Traveller and really enjoy it, so yeah. Norm says, speaking of a black hole, there's talk of a remake of Disney's great sci-fi movie from the late 70s, The Black Hole. Whew, that one, it'll be an interesting one. I really can't remember it very well. Yeah, can't really remember it that well. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it, aren't I? So Spoon Glue says Thunderbird 6 was the Tiger Moth. Was that Jeff Tracy's plane? It was, wasn't it? Put on 182. Push the front down to fire the front missile. Push the back down to fire the back missiles. It's a design fault that the rear missiles don't lock in. Thunderbird 6 is a yellow Tiger Moth biplane. Guys, that's why I come here, so you can tell me all the things I don't know. Now, back to the models. I have to say, you can use sandpaper to do roads, and you can crack it sometimes if you twist it, and you can create tears. So I scrunched it up, but it was fine and didn't really crack and didn't really look very good. So it didn't 100% work, but this is just fine sandpaper, which is a great thing for doing a diorama of a road because you've got the lovely texture on it, but it's useless for doing something like a model railway where your roads are quite long because you end up with joins in it. But anyway, I didn't think of pushing down on that car. I'm gutted now. I'll have to go and try it later. But anyway, it was really good. I just cut it with scissors, probably blunted with scissors. And I'm able now to sort of have a mock around with the actual things in place now that other building blocks are in. The swimming pool's on the left, the logo's in the back, and on the right's going to be an underwater area for Thunderbird 4, which is very cute. But these didn't come out. I mean, there's not a lot of them visible by the ends by the time you've got the car and Thunderbird 2 on them. But the cracking didn't really work, and it's just, I've never really tried it before. People have told me, oh, you can do great cracks on sandpaper if you scrunch it and do stuff. I don't know. Let me know in chat if you've tried it and it's worked for you. Do you have to tear it? Is that what you do? Because I just didn't feel it. I mean, it looks, you can see that it's been done, but it doesn't create anything once you've got the paint on. It just made them a bit buckled. Though to be fair, I knew they were going to warp when I glued them, because the glue that they gave us that I was using is this very thin, clear glue from Hobbycraft. It's a clear glue, which is actually quite nice. I think I've got one other clear glue from Hobbycraft already in the cupboard. But anyway, I used it, made use of what they gave me. I remembered the paintbrush halfway through, having used my own for a bit. But it's very wet. And the biggest problem I had with this was I put this glue on, fine. And then I didn't like the sawdust when it comes up. It's actually wood shavings, you'll see in a bit. And so I put loads of glue on. It didn't feel stuck. So I put loads of glue on. And then I dribbled, which you'll see here, which I cut out the 8-minute video in a bit. I've dribbled loads of glue on the foil to see if that would give an effect. It didn't, which is why I didn't put it in the 8-minute video. But I dribbled loads and loads of thick glue on. So by the time I'd got this thin glue, I'd got loads of diluted glue on the shavings and then loads of glue dribbled down the foil that goes on. Let's just say every time I picked it up for the whole time I was working on this, every single day until the last day, glue ran out the back. So inside, there was like a reservoir at the back of wet glue under everything. So yeah, I mean, everything was dried on top, but not underneath. So the gluing was like not the best thing on this. But you want to put loads of glue on to make sure it's stuck, but there was a limit and I probably just went past it. So there. Jeffrey Cooper, hello Jeffrey. You would probably be great at writing sci-fi books, ever considered it? So how can I put this? I'm not an English person, I'm a maths and science person with my brain. I love reading fan fiction, I love reading other people's takes, I love creating stories. I actually like the way RPGs work because I can create a story, but I haven't really got I've done one book, which was a factual book, which was how to build model railway scenery. And I would never want to do a book again, having done that. It's a lot of work. And I was just never in English. I would tell someone a story very, very happily. I don't want to write one down. I think that's how I describe it. So I love creating stories. I love creating the concepts behind them. I love creating the characters and the sort of environments. I love creating the miniature worlds. That's what I do. I create miniature worlds. And I have actually written down Word documents for all my RPG that I've actually done, not the off-the-cuff ones. We did quite a few other books just to, I'm still new. Just to learn how they do some of the setup for me. And it's fascinating what I'm learning. But if I'm honest, I'm not an English person. That's not to say I'm not really good at sorting out people's apostrophes and grammar, but I'm not a descriptive written person. And John might, who's on, might tell you this. I'm more likely to go, you went to a planet, and leave you and put a photo up of said planet than to describe in great detail that planet. And I think my adventures are not as descriptive, and I keep saying to myself, and John, you'll have to let me know if it's true, that I probably need to be more descriptive in what I do. So there we go. So Shergall, at the time it was made, the original Black Hole was one of the most expensive flops made. Wow. And then they did Waterworld. Which, to be honest, the Starfighter is the new Disney movie that's due out in 2027, I think, and it's set after the sequels, and it's the start of maybe a trilogy. It's got Ryan Gosling in it, and the set photo they had looked like Waterworld. So takes you very back to Waterworld, though with Kevin Costner, though I don't think it is. So yeah. And then Portland 182, Corgi will release Thunderbird 5 soon, and you small and my small Thunderbird 3 will dock with it. I did hope they would go together. It does look quite cool. I could put it somewhere on there, perhaps on the left. I'd like to actually know the sizing of it before buying it. So just a word on before I see Norm asking about AI, a word on this. So the foil is in there to create a watery backdrop. It is basically to create something for Thunderbird 4. And I decided that I was going to use foil for all the forms. It's actually very good foil. It's easy to scrunch up. It's quite dense. It doesn't distort, so if you use card or paper, it will shrink. Plastic can sometimes shrink and crack and is quite heavy. Foil's quite lightweight, so actually it's not a bad building material. I'm surprised we don't use it more sometimes. I mean, you just scrunch it up and put it in there, and then you can go over the top of it with something like sculptor mould, and it's relatively cheap. So actually I feel like if I was coming at things again, I'd be like, oh, I should do more with foil, because the amount of foil they gave us, I didn't use. I've still got half of it left. You know, they gave quite a long sheet, I guess. But it's just really easy to use. So does anybody, let me know in chat, does anybody use foil when modelling? I see a lot of people doing clay sculptures will often put foil as the base that they then put the clay over. And I'm guessing it's because you can fire it or it's stable. It's a very stable thing. So yeah, I really liked using the foil. That was my surprise of this. And with hot glue, it goes together very quickly. I did not like the wood shavings, which is what comes next. So Norm says, Kathy, with AI being what it is nowadays, you can basically tell a plot line and it will write it for you. Yeah, but I know the story. I like the story bit of it. I like the plotting and the working out what's going to happen. But my problem is, this is to get me, if I was to write a Star Wars story, for example, my favourite Star Wars fan fictions are the ones that go back and give happy endings to all the people that don't have happy endings in Star Wars, which is actually 99% of them. If you like the original trilogy, all those heroes get a happy ending. If you're like me, you like the prequels and the Clone Wars, there is absolutely nobody in the Clone Wars that gets a happy ending. Every single person in it either dies or everybody they love dies. They get kicked out, they get destroyed. Like everybody apart from Palpatine gets a bad ending. You know, Palpatine gets what he wants, everybody else doesn't. Yeah, Bale lives. His planet gets blown up in the next trilogy though. So, you know, I look at them and I look at things like Star Wars and I think, I just want to go back and give them all happy endings. So my favourite Star Wars fanfiction, and the reason I like fanfiction over the other stuff is they do a lot of time travel where they go back and all the people that you really love get to have a happy ending and they beat Palpatine. And like that to me that's just brilliant. That's really, really good. Right, there we go. But yeah, I'm not touching AI, Norm. I am really not touching AI. As somebody whose job could disappear if somebody decided to do a Kathy Millett modelling style AI, it will do 3D design for you now. And they can literally take 30 seconds and that work is stolen. You know, if they wanted to use my work, they would get it and they would use it and they won't pay me for it. It uses water and electricity, more so than probably I do. And I just look at it and I go, it's a tool, but it's not a tool I want to take my job. You know, artistry should be more than just telling something to write a plot line. You know, it should be more than that. There should be an element of innovation, an element of something original. And AI, by definition, can't do original. It has to copy something else. So all it will ever be is plagiarising other people's work without paying them. And that's why I'm really kind of anti the whole, oh, I'll just put an artist, you know, I won't have an artist, I'll just get an AI to do a background because I can't do that myself. I get that. And for a lot of people, you know, you can't afford the artist, but you don't have to have an arty background. I just feel that it's a direction of travel that will strip a lot of people's livings out. And what you'll be left with is derivative the same, which if you're fine if you're wanting GW knockoffs, because someone will just say, have a GW knockoff, it'll be fine. If you want really innovative, something different, like what David Sheff did for Spectre with his Bio-Gothic, you won't get an AI ever create that. They just can't ever come up with a concept like that. And that, I think, is where we'll lose out. Anyway, enter the wood shavings. I thought this was going to be more like sawdust, but actually it is the kind of rough shavings you get if you plane something. It's really, woof, just gross. I would describe this as trying to model with grated carrot. Yep, it's just me popping out to put a bit of water on it. So there we go. So Portland 182 says, cheaper and lighter to use foil under a sculpture. Yeah, I can imagine that, and it is stable. Stating says, made a moonscape for a school project with foil and bog rolls for craters. I like that. I actually did do a video with water made from foil, and I'd scrunched up underneath, and then I'd put the sheets of foil over the top, and then put loads of layers of white glue. The only trouble with foil is paint won't stick to it if it crinkles, but you can solve that by putting 2 or 3 layers of white glue over it, matte Mod Podge, and you'll see that's what I do in a minute on this, to make sure everything sticks afterwards. So Ravenson says, the music video with Thunderbirds was called Calling Elvis from the Dire Straits. From this music video I know about the Thunderbirds, but unfortunately I've not seen the series yet. Yeah. It's very dated now, if you look at it. It is definitely classic in the sense of, you know, like a classic. I don't know how to describe it. It is dated, but if you grew up with it, then there's that nostalgia. But it's still got some really cool designs. You know, I look at their monorails and I just think, oh, they're just cool still. It's also very 50s retro 50s future. So if you liked the aesthetic on the Fantastic Four, I was struggling to think what they were, the Fantastic Four recently, it's got that sort of vibe to it as well. John, you probably don't really need to add a lot of location description most of the time. Oh, we're on my RPGs and whether I'm descriptive enough. Thanks, John. When you're using maps and screen prints, I'd say maybe add more for Scut City parts, but Doug might struggle. Yeah, okay. So the reason he mentions Doug is not that Doug's like not with it or anything, but Doug has this really fascinating condition, which is apparently quite common, where if I say to you, think of an apple, what do you see? I can see the green apple. I can see the little drop of water coming down the side in the advert. I can see the red apple. I can see the pile of apples. I can do trig in my head. I do 3D design. I can see the design before it's there. Doug just sees the words apple. He doesn't see the photo. I can see photo deep. Some people see like cartoon deep. So I need to make sure, it's really good for me as a practice, and this is why I'm using a lot of, say, Fallen Order and Survivor locations at the moment to go to, because they are good locations with loads of screen prints of good, great art from them. So we're actually running around Jeddah at the moment. And I was going to go to Jeddah anyway, because I've seen it in a lot of fiction ones. But then there's a lot of great stuff from Survivor that I could use. And we're in a period where they've blown up the Holy City. So otherwise we'd have been set in the Holy City. But yeah, so it's more that Doug just needs me to give more of a view of what things looks like. But actually I could even give Doug the model to print at home, because he loves printing stuff. He's one of my print testers. So yeah. Portland 182, Ravenson's in Germany, I think. So I'm not sure whether he'll get it free on ITVX, but he'll certainly get it maybe on YouTube. So Norm says, dated like the Buck Rogers from the 30s movies. Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers. There's a TV advert at the moment for Flash, the cleaner, and they're using the music. It just makes me laugh. I remember watching black and white a lot when I was little. And people today wouldn't even know what black and white was, would they? People younger than us today, because they haven't grown up with it. But I remember watching a lot of black and white series. So Portland 182 says mid-century retro. Yes. So it's actually not retro because it was of the time, but it is very, but it's mid-century future retro. Shergirl, I needed a student loan for my maths degree, but I don't know how I got but I didn't know how to get a cosigner. Oh. Yeah, Shergirl has dad jokes. He has really, really, like, the best bad dad jokes you'll ever see. That's Shergirl for you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I actually used the word hypotenuse in a conversation once, and we were actually standing trying to look at how long a set of stairs was, and I said, we really need to work out the hypotenuse for this. And the guy was actually just looked at me and said, I listened to a radio programme this morning that said, words you never hear ever nowadays, hypotenuse, and now you've just used it. I'm like, yep, that's me. So this is brown paint, acrylic paint, just raw umber, my favourite brown colour, and Mod Podge, and it's sitting going off in a pot. I haven't done much modelling recently that's I've actually put Mod Podge on. So as a result, I decided it was a good time to use some of it up. I had a pot of warm grey, but the top wasn't really that sealed, so that had gone solid. So this is matte Mod Podge to help seal the foil so that it will stick any paint that I put on it. I'm going to prime it with a spray primer, white. The whole thing's going to go white and black in a bit. But if I don't put this on, if I was to touch the foil and move it, because it's not that solid, then I could crack the paint off. On top of that, matte Mod Podge is flexible, but it will stiffen it as well. But I wasn't sure. I did one coat and then thought I'd really like some thicker glue on this. So I decided, this is where all the glue started to come in. I decided that I'd put more glue on in a minute. But for now, I'm matte Mod Podging. And I couldn't really do it in many places with the awful grated carrot wood shavings, but where I could, I went over the foil so I wouldn't get the gleam coming through, because when you're spray painting you don't always catch every area, you know, from every angle. Shergirl, that's an old pun though. The punchline, the score of the hippopotamus is equal to the sum of the scores on the other two hides. I know where you get them from. I really don't. Do you have a book of dad jokes at home? Do you like memorise them? Impressive. So I would say, having done this, foil. Definitely try out foil if you haven't. And you want something cheap and easy. And the whole point of this diorama was to mostly use what they gave me, apart from that awesome logo. But it was to mostly use what they gave me. So I did try. Yeah. I had a few sort of false bits with this, which when you're doing the 8-minute video don't come out, because actually someone said to me, your videos show how not to do stuff more than they show how to do stuff sometimes. And people actually just, you know, when you're baking a cake, they don't go, oh, and when you bake the cake, if you do it like this, it won't work, and then demonstrate it. You know, they tell you how to do it. And that's what people are wanting. They're wanting a recipe. So I've tended not to put the mistakes in as much. I think it was a bit of a trend when I started YouTube that people would put mistakes in to show, partly because they'd show in the finished result, but quite often I've rectified the mistakes. So I've been leaving them out, and that's why it's useful to do these, so I can talk about some of the issues I've had, and some of the stupid things I did, you know, just because, like, why not? It's how you learn. Oh, everyone's saying how old his jokes are. It's an old one, says Shergirl. The real joke is that a chief could afford 3 wives. And the kids. So stating, yep, totally. Children are expensive. So this was me trying glue down the side. This was way too thin. Just went straight to the bottom. So I actually went and put a load of glue over the wood chip to try and get it to stay in. That glue is already practically dilute. It's quite thin. I kept dribbling glue down the inner left corner to try and do a bit of a cornice. But I ended up with this glue running everywhere, as I said. And you might see it in the video, because obviously this is just the raw footage sped up. So you will probably see some stuff like me wiping up a lot of glue all the time. Like literally every time I moved it, it goes up in blocks as well. Top tip, if you've done stuff and it's leaking glue, put it on a couple of blocks and then it will drip, and you can put something underneath to catch it if it's dripping a lot. But you can not stick your diorama to the base, because that's really bad. And I may have done it. I once glued something to my granite worktop and took the top of my granite worktop in a small area, right in the middle. Yep, that was bad. I also filled the edges of the foil with tacky glue. This is tacky glue from Hobbycraft. I absolutely adore it. It's a thick white glue. It just dries. And this was because I was thinking of using the wood shavings at the time. That is, don't ask me what I was doing. So the idea is that at the bottom of this, there's actually a little gap where the foil and the road meet. And this was me trying to fill that little gap with glue, because thick white glue is actually not a bad filler when you've already plastered everything else with glue. And there's just so much glue floating around now. I have no idea why I thought this much glue was fun on a short build. If you're doing it at a weekend and now it's going to be a week before it dries and it's not a problem, you know, if I was modelling at weekends, covering something in white glue, it shrinks, so that's the only downside on it, but covering something in white glue, fine, as long as it's not going to warp the underneath. But this is PVC board, it's not like card. And then I tried this. This was just to add more thickness of glue in to the surface, and what I was hoping was I would get sort of a matte Mod Podge being slightly less shiny than maybe the white glue, and also I was hoping that it would strengthen the foil and that it would go into all of the areas and just strengthen everything, and create maybe just a little bit of wavy bumpiness that would give it a sort of a texture that would look quite interesting. Yeah, just don't. It was fun. I've left it in here so you can see. It was ultimately a complete waste of time though. I mean, it did thicken it up, and it was either I did this or I put another 2 or 3 layers of matte Mod Podge on, and I decided this was quicker because I could leave it overnight to dry, and it probably would dry overnight. So yeah, so it worked from that point of view. And the last time I did foil, I did do 2 complete coats of white glue, the thick white glue like this, just to try and give it some rigidity. And also, you don't want to just punch through the foil by mistake. This is just thin cooking foil. There's not a lot of substance to it. So this then helps strengthen that up. Shergill Cornish. I thought the Thunderbirds were from the South Pacific. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't catch that one. If it's a joke, it's a really good dad joke. Right, Portland 182. For those in Germany, Thunderbirds is available for streaming on Apple TV Plus, where it is accessible in German audio. Ooh, there we go. I don't know if you've got that, Mac, but here, there we go. Or Rabinson. Wow. Anyway, this goes on for a long time. Quite a long time. I finished my tea too. There's a lot of me doing this glue, but I do like tacky glue. I used almost half a pot on this, and this might be one of the reasons why I had a lot of glue coming out the back for a long time. You know, there's a lot of glue on this at this point, so yeah. But on the bright side, at least nothing is moving, especially as I then covered it again with something else afterwards. Oh yeah. Anyway, I was hoping the wood shavings would be a base for maybe leaves or something. I wasn't really sure, but I did know what I wanted to do on the underwater leaf front, and that was I wanted to use the green crepe paper that they gave us. This is more of the foil that they gave us, and I wanted them to be stand upright and look like, you know, stuff. And I knew that gloss Mod Podge I used for this on its own wouldn't make them stiff enough, and I was still debating how I was going to put them upright at this point. But in the meanwhile, what I did was I coated both sides. Obviously I let it dry in between, but I coated both sides with gloss Mod Podge. Now it's it's interesting because it did then stick them to the foil, and then I had to cut them out. So I wonder whether I'd have been better just take the whole sheet, because I did actually tear a few of these because it gets very soft, as you see there. I wondered whether I'd just been better to do the whole sheet with gloss Mod Podge on one side and then gloss Mod Podge on the other side, and then you want to put it on quite thickly, but then cut them out afterwards, because here I ended up cutting them out twice. It didn't take long at the beginning, it didn't take long the next time, but it was like I did it twice. So yeah, I'm jury's out whether it would have actually worked, whether I'd have just torn it all, but yeah, interesting to think that maybe that would have been an option, to just do the whole sheet uncut. So Ravenson, I have Prime as my streaming provider. I don't want to have a second streaming service. I'm a little bit short with the money. Yeah, I have. I managed to have 4 somehow, although I actually only pay for. I don't actually pay for any of them at the moment. So we've got Disney Plus. I pay for Disney Plus, but I use it a lot. I use it for reference for my work as well. So I go back and look at various locations and see for clutter and stuff. So I do use that a lot. So we've got Disney Plus, we've got Prime, which I have for postage, which actually I do pay for. We've got Netflix, which I used to pay for, but Mum now gets. She's got Sky as well, which has Paramount Plus. So we haven't got Apple TV as a result, but we do have 4 plus 5, if you count Sky, streaming services at least. Yeah. Plus iPlayer and ITVX. We watch a lot on iPlayer and ITVX as well, of old stuff. I watched the whole of Battlestar Galactica on ITVX, and we're on Doctor Who on iPlayer, and Poirot is on ITVX, which is good when Dad's up. So I'm spraying black as a base, and then white on the 2 sides for the sky areas and the water area, and then almost like a zenithal everywhere else, just to, well, that's what you do, isn't it? You do zenithals. Basically, I just sprayed a bit of white everywhere, so it wasn't all pure black, which then caused me a problem when I put the letters in, because I was like, now the base isn't the same colour, but it doesn't really show, so it's fine. Digger says, I don't watch much TV, but my granddaughter likes to watch baby TV when she's staying over. Yes, probably actually quite fun stuff. Hi Tim, yeah, we heard you were scooting in late. John gave you a report. And then I have no idea, Rameson, how much Apple TV Plus is a month, and you're in a different country, so different currency, I wouldn't know, I'm afraid. This actually peels off quite well. It's a little bit stretchy now because the crepe paper's not that robust, but once you've got a coat of gloss Mod Podge on it, is much, much better. So yeah, so that's cool. I had a thought then of something I was going to say, and I've totally forgotten what it is. Oh. I don't put Netflix or... we're actually watching Discovery at the moment. So I realised that I had watched the first 4 seasons of Discovery on Netflix, and I'm not finding it quite so upsetting this time around. Normally, the first time around Discovery was just like, and I do find Michael Burnham really annoying. She's so annoying as a character. She does my head in, and I just think Saru's a much better captain than she will ever be. But we only ever got to season 4 in the UK before it went to streaming in the US that nobody had. It was on Paramount Plus, which I now actually have, which is where we're watching it, because it's on Sky, and I'd forgotten that Discovery was on there. And it came out in the UK at 9 o'clock on a Friday night on some online non-streaming streaming service, which is just weird. And you had to watch it live. I can't even remember what the brand was. But of course, I didn't realise this till 2 or 3 episodes had passed. And I was never around at Friday at 9 o'clock to watch said Discovery. So I actually never watched season 5. So we're in the middle of season 3. And at some point, I'm going to watch season 5. I put this buff titanium on. It sucked. I covered it up later. Just no. Dead end. Didn't like it. Wasn't where I wanted to go. Just no. And that's a good thing with paint. You can just always paint over it if you don't like it. So this is cerulean blue. I'm trying to do a thin, wispy, washy sky, partly because in the 70s they didn't really seem to have strong colours, so certainly in the backdrops. So it's actually, if I think of Thunderbirds, I think of it as a washed out blue sky. So that's what I was trying to do. I over-thinned it probably, because then even with a good primer, it just doesn't stick, it blotches. So I put more paint on, because over-thinning acrylics is an issue of mine, but it still didn't really work. So yeah, and it's just off screen, but hopefully it will appear on screen in a sec when I tilt it in a minute. So yeah. Jaw21, could you have used baking parchment instead of that tin foil to prevent sticking? Yeah, you could, probably. The reason foil is good is it doesn't warp with water, but greaseproof or baking paper can curl up when they get wet and they can distort, so it may not dry flat, which may actually give it an interesting effect if it curls up. Or may not. So the only thing I would say is I don't know how they will react with water. It depends on what type of baking parchment it is. Some of them wrinkle, some don't. So yeah, and Ravenson's going to look at Apple TV. So Norm says Apple TV in the States is $12.99 a month. Ooh, and it's probably all going up. All the streamers seem to be going up at the moment. Tim, Clear Road's back, says John, unlike Friday afternoon. Oh, well, Friday afternoons are always a menace. Sundays are normally better. Oh, 30 minutes. Oh, did you drop John off then, Tim? Because I'm going to say 30 minutes from Aldershot seems unlikely. But yeah, that's cool. That looks, yeah, it looks really naff. I hate doing skies. You want them thin so they blend. So you've got bright blue at the top and then dingy white at the bottom. I've tried it with oils and it just takes forever to dry. I've tried it with dilute acrylics like this and it just doesn't work. I struggle a lot with it. Rameson says it's €9.99, maybe almost the same, but I don't know the exact exchange rates. Yeah, so Tim says he dropped John off 30 minutes from his place to mine. That sounds good. That sounds like you had a good run then. Considering where you had to go. So this then is Payne's Grey. Oh, I must buy another Payne's Grey. This was, the top doesn't go on properly, so it was quite dry. So it was very icky paint, a little bit lumpy almost, you know. And what I'm doing is I'm painting the backdrop and I'm painting the bits that the letters stand up on the same. And I'm doing all this first because I'm about to spatter it in white. And when I spatter it in white, I want to spatter the lettered bottoms in place and then do the backdrop. Now you won't see most of the spattering. Why am I spattering in white? Well, I need space. So this is my galaxy effect. And here we are, I'm about to paint the backdrop and try and sort of splurge it in to do some kind of neat artistic join between the sky, which is behind the swimming pool launch for Thunderbird 1, and the cosmos, which is there. And again, the paint just wasn't quite having fun, so I had to go over it a few times and just blacked up the areas that had caught a bit of white spray, overspray. Stars, says Norm. Yep, that's it. Stars, little twinkles. Which is for Thunderbird 3. It is really a space vehicle, and I felt that it was nice to get the black backdrop that actually is what's behind the Thunderbirds Are Go logo that I was looking at. It actually had a Cosmos space one with a bit of a purpley hint to it. I didn't do that much purple on this. I have a violet that I bought, an actual violet paint, and that comes in, I don't know, 10 minutes. But I used an awful lot of kitchen roll, huge amount of kitchen roll in this project. Like, not as much as when I'm 3D printing with resin. Oh, and I've just printed some V-Squad, I'm going to call it, some Varactyls, except I've forgotten, left one in the isopropyl alcohol all day, cleaning. But anyway, there I've got 3 clones and Obi-Wan on a Varactyl, which is really fun. Varactyls are from, if you remember, Revenge of the Sith. It's the boga that is what Obi-Wan rides when he's chasing Grievous on his wheel bike. So there we go. The keyhole on the left, is this the space for the pool for Lady Penelope? Yes, but it's also where Thunderbird 1 launches out of. So the swimming pool comes back and the Thunderbird 1 launches out the front round bit of it. So it's very clever. I'm surprised that the water doesn't boil off, and actually the water should extend more than I did it, but it's not that visible. So I just used the blue card that they gave us right at the end. You'll see that. It's like a 10-second shot of me putting it in with hot glue. So I'm just checking. You can see that the S, if I'd thought about it, I should have painted them maybe a bit more with the blue, but I didn't. So there we go. And these aren't actually glued in. These are all just wedged in. I probably should glue them. And you can see they're not totally straight yet either. I probably should glue them, but I haven't at this point. The only one that actually the Go is just on a bit of blue tack. But it's just, if I was shipping it, I'd glue them, but I'm not. It's just going to be loose, so it can go on a bookshelf. And one of the things when I measured this was that it had to come out of the piece that I had. I needed it tall enough to go above the Thunderbirds, and I needed it short enough front to back that it would fit on a shelf, with maybe an inch or two at the front for space for the things not to come flying off if they fall off. So yeah, so that's, I really like that. Now we're going to spatter white paint. Spattering white paint is so much fun, but my mats here need a good sand, I think, now, because they've got so much gunk put onto them and glue that came off this. So yeah, but here we go, just a brush and spatter over a cocktail stick. It's a bit splodgy, to be honest, but I don't think you see that much of it in the end result, so it was okay. But you can see I just wanted it to just do something. It's a great shot on the back of my head then. Yep, really great shot on the back of my head, which was, woo, great shot. It's actually really hard, I think, to spatter paint this thick. I should have had it a bit thinner, probably, but I hadn't thinned it. So it actually went out in blubs in quite a few places. So, yeah. Anyway, once I'd done them, I could take them out and just leave them to dry, and then spatter the back without those in the way. And I wanted to do them first. I just wiped off any spots on the white bit, because obviously I don't want to paint them and then spatter them. So I did them first, and then now I can paint them without worrying. And sometimes it's really important to think about the order you do things in when painting, to make sure that everything is done sort of the best way that you can. And laser glue runs out if you look. Oh yeah, big splodge. That becomes a nebula. Yeah, that's why I've got some nebula on there, which I think actually the original picture probably had the Milky Way on somewhere, so not too bad. And a lot of this gets covered by the letters, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Like that bit at the bottom is actually, I think, glue coming out. If you look at the bottom, the left-hand side, there's like this really white bit that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that is glue seeping out of the backdrop. I'm like, oh, right, okay. Yeah. It's just getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, it's a bit of fun. And I'm sure I got some of it on the sky, but yeah, it just joins in. Oh, and that was just a big splodge. There we go. Another nebula appeared. And I thought, oh, the nebula look a bit weird. So, yeah, dealt with them in a minute. When you see me go off, quite often I'm just going to get water so I can thin stuff a little bit. Artist acrylics are great paints. You know, this is a very cheap way of painting stuff, but they will leave brush marks if you're not careful. And then of course I overthin, because I always overthin. So this is a scarlet, which I think I bought for doing lava or something, but it's actually quite a useful colour to have a big pot of, because it is a useful colour. Just, you know, I do use it a bit. Rameson says a meteor crashed in. Yeah, maybe. Rubbing your thumb over a toothbrush filled with paint gives you great stars. Yeah, I probably should have done something like that, but I was, you know, I had the white paint out, I had this brush out. I didn't have a toothbrush to hand, so I was just using a normal brush. I think actually a shorter, stiffer brush gives a better flick than this longer one. But, you know, it's hardly visible by the end. So it coped. This green though, the red got 2 coats. I've only recorded 1. This green got like 3 or 4 coats before it looked good. And that's where the hairdryer comes out. It could be that I'd over-thinned it, maybe. Don't think I'd over-thinned it too much, but I think maybe I had. So yeah, hairdryer. Can't beat a hairdryer. Guys, I know you probably don't have hairdryers, but it is really useful. This is my modelling hairdryer. It was a travel one. I don't even remember buying it. I don't know where I got it from, but it's been so useful. It lives in my modelling room. Is it the Milky Way? Says Rainbow Express. It could be. Yeah, it could be an arm of the Milky Way because we're in the Milky Way, are we not? But yeah. And I'm using a foam disposable brush because it's really flat, which makes it great for doing flat edges. But you'll see I'm forever mucking out the G's because there's a direction that makes it better to do it from. And yet more kitchen roll. So you just want to make sure, yeah, wow, I am so bad. And yeah, I do actually just lick it as well. The kitchen roll. Trying to get this on. Oh, it worked. So Digger says, I have a bald head and I have 2 hairdryers for my modelling. 2! I do have a heat gun for really strong killing stuff, but that will melt most things, especially 3D prints. But 2! Norm says he's had a hairdryer since the 60s. Well, was that for your modelling or your hair though, Norm? But yeah, I mean, my hairdryer that I use for my hair would be useless because it's got a massive diffuser on it. It'd be useless for this. And I've only just got back to the time of year when I feel like I can be bothered to dry my hair. My hair. That's good, Norm. I'm glad that you actually had enough hair to dry. I can just imagine you in the 70s now with your long hippie hair because you live in California, so you were bound to have long hippie hair in California, weren't you? Not at all stereotyping. More cleaning of edges. I don't think the green was half as neat as the red, to be honest. But yeah, but a hairdryer is great. You can tell when the paint's gone off because it goes from shiny to matte. And it just enables you to get loads done. But just be warned, you can definitely warp stuff if you over hairdry. And the other day, I was trying to get, real daft, I was trying to get my filter for my aquarium off the old black plastic inlet pipe to put in a new clear Petga pipe. And it said try heating it. So I tried hot water, couldn't get it in there because it's like a really stiff pipe and it's got water in it and stuff. Because I didn't drain the whole system down to swap a pipe at the top. And in the end, I heated it with the hairdryer. And when I twisted to try and get it off, I twisted the plastic black inlet pipe, which thankfully I was getting rid of, but the pipe still didn't come off. So I ended up just cutting it off in the end. So yeah. Just to warn you, you can melt stuff you don't like. And I've tried a blowtorch once getting rid of strings on a canopy and actually just melted the canopy, all twisted. So this is violet, just a quick amount of violet over there to add a little tint at the top. I didn't bother with further down because then I'd have to do the letters as well. And also further down, the letters are in the way for most of that anyway. So there we are, that little nebula got a bit of blue on it, and that side going into the violet. I tried mixing violet paint for Lola Sayu when I was doing lava for that. It was yellow lava and violet rocks. I could not mix violet paint no matter how hard I tried. Maybe I just didn't have the right colours of blue, but I just couldn't. I ended up having to wait the project for it to come from Amazon. I just couldn't get it. So they gave me 3 pots of paint, dark green, brown and light green. So I used those in honour of the fact that this is a Tracy Island inspired build. And these are the 3 colours. Now the brown, thankfully, is just basically bog standard raw umber. But I used the green for the bottom, the weed at the bottom, because it's similar enough to the crepe paper that I could use it. And I covered up that smeggy buff titanium with this, I should have probably stirred this a bit more, with this dark green, which I probably wouldn't use anywhere else but underwater, but it worked really well for underwater. Digger says, one was donated by my wife and I got one from a charity shop for £2. Excellent. Bargain. I don't think mine was particularly expensive. It came in a plastic bag. I couldn't, yeah. It's a very cheap one is what I mean. Not as cheap as £2 though, that's a bargain. And then Norm says, once out of high school, I let it grow. We had a dress code and hair length rules back then in school. Oh, bless. Yeah. Yeah, we had dress codes when I was at school. You know, your skirt shouldn't get too short, but actually when I was at school, long skirts were in. So actually most people rebelled by having floor length skirts rather than short skirts. And I look at people today and I look at them and I just think, yeah, you wouldn't have got away with that skirt in my school, because one girl tried a really short skirt and they said if you're kneeling and it doesn't reach the floor, then it's not acceptable at school. So she had to have a different skirt. So Robinson says, the splash now looks like the Millet Nebula. Yep, it is. It's a nebula. Digger says, when Norm was in high school, they still had slate and chalk to write with. Oh, bless. But at least he wasn't old enough to have the lessons on how to escape the dinosaurs. Yeah. I mean, we laugh. My grandfather was born 2 centuries ago. 2 centuries ago. So, yeah, that's only my grandfather. Yeah, the world has changed a lot in that time. So the brown, I really like this brown actually. I might use it again in another project when I need to use it paint. These are just all stuck on the side. No, I should put them in the cupboard with my lava paints. And it's really hard to paint wood shavings. Not only are they hard to put on because it's like modelling with grated carrot, it's really hard to paint them because it's like painting grated carrot. And you can see that my road is really wrinkly rather than cracked. So, you know, okay. It's not looking that great. Thankfully, there's stuff to go on it. And that is because it wrinkled when it got wet. And that's the trouble with glue. Using a sort of liquid glue is you'll get these problems. Norm says, my great-grandfather was a horse thief in Britain. Yeah. That's a hard one to top. Very hard one to top. I mean, I think, yeah, my dad's side can go back to 1600s or 1400s. I don't know, but you know, it's hard if you're just normal people to go back too far. So I still not liking the wood shaving. I tried my best to use it. I really tried. You know, I put all this paint on it. I really, really tried. I tried to make it look good, and yeah, it sucked. It just sucked. It's just, no matter how much you paint it, it's never going to look good. So I kind of wish I hadn't done it, and I almost wrenched it back off, but decided not to. But it actually makes everything that I do after this stick out a lot more than I originally planned it to. So on the left, the bushes there now stick out a lot more by the end than I planned them to. There's foil, then wood chip, then, you know, the thing I do in a bit, the grass. So yeah, there's a lot going on in height-wise. But anyway, it's another good way to quickly fill out space. It just looks awful, unlike the foil, which worked quite well. I'm not the neatest painter with this. And this paint was actually quite thin, thankfully, which made it easy to get into the gaps. But it's really hard, and I'm pretty sure that there are some bits that I missed. And actually by this point, I was just like, I've had enough of this wood chip. So I did end up getting quite a bit onto the top of the sky as well, which wasn't ideal. And you can see it's a very pale looking sky. So I put this kitchen roll down to act as a bit of a mask. Didn't 100% work, but it did stop maybe the worst of it getting on there. In the end, I just gave up and put it on and went, well, I'll just cover it in a bit with something. So there we go. It does show perhaps a little bit more than I wanted it to. But people are going to look at it from above as well as from the front. So you do want to make sure when people look at it, they're not going to see like white, because bushes aren't white. So that was probably more important to me than maintaining the skyline. That back bit is just, it's just there to fill the corner, really. I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be. I mean, it would be a building in real life. And you can see the rocks 3D printed. They were sort of the top of that, the bit going through the middle of the rocks is actually steps. It shows you the scale of this, really. It's quite small. And that would then lead up to the building. Now, this colour on the right is called ice. Yep, it's a mix from, I think, my Tomb Raider ice video. And I also used it on the Clone Wars ice video as well, probably. And it's a mix of blue and green, translucent-ish types of paint. So I thinned some up because this was too dark, just too dark. And I wanted it to get lighter. So I kept thinning it and just putting more on, you know. That didn't run out the back, thankfully, even though I did slosh quite a bit on. And the aim here is to make sure that at no point do you sort of see white. You see a blue. Now, interestingly, I'm using the Tamiya thinner, which isn't the cheapest, but I've got quite a few bottles of it around. And I think this actually came out a lot better than I expected to by the end. But you can see I've used quite a lot of it. And I used it with a lot of paint left over. Because I hadn't thinned enough. But it's quite, it's an interesting, I quite like how this side came out. I'm not so keen on the sky side on the other side, but I quite like how this side came out in the end, because it did run down to the end, and I spent quite a bit of time trying to just make sure I hadn't got any white bits that showed. You have to look at it from all angles. But yeah, I think the water bit came out all right, I think. Trying to get it in the gaps again. So there we go. That was the water done. And then it looks very oceany. I made that word up. It's a good word, Norm. I like it. German Amazon Prime has Thunderbirds 99p an episode or £20 for the series. I think there's a few series, but not many. So this is a grey they gave us. So it's just a mid-grey, I think they called it. I actually normally use warm grey, but sometimes it can be quite beige. But this is a Hobbycraft colour. I already had one of these, so I opened theirs and went and put it in the tin and thought I've actually already got one. It's quite a useful grey to have if you're doing sci-fi. And again, there's so much glue in here, and I'd thinned this a bit so it wouldn't leave brush marks and wouldn't hide the texture of the sandpaper. And at the back, it didn't stick. You can see there's a big patch appeared, and it wasn't sticking towards the sides either. It was just too thin. So I had to put a bit more in because I'd over-thinned. Bit of a theme here. But you can just keep going over them until it dries enough. But in the end, I just put a bit more paint on and just stopped worrying about it. And there we go. And then I was able to do the left-hand side as well. Thank goodness there's giant pink limousines and Thunderbird 2s going over this. I mean, another reason to not do Tracy Island was A, Fab 1 never went to Tracy Island, so I wouldn't have been able to show it off. 2, it's like they're different scales, and this bugs me. It really bugs me that you have different scales. So I get they're different sizes, and Thunderbird 4 in this is the right size because it goes inside Thunderbird 2. But when you've got multi-scale die-cast or models, so when I bought the kits, you can actually get 1, 2, 3, 4 all at 1 to 350. But the 4 comes with the 2s. 4 then also comes, it's the little yellow underwater one. 4 also comes, this sucked. This really sucked, by the way, what I'm doing now. 4 also comes in a different scale. The pink Fab 1 is in a different scale, and 5 is in a different scale, I think. So it makes it really hard to do a model that's cohesive when everything's in different scales. Now at this point, I was over the grated carrot. I was really over the grated carrot. But if you wanted to say this was a Blue Peter build, this is where you stop. Yeah, you go, okay, that's it. It's like Blue Peter level. But I wasn't happy with it, so I just left it all to dry. There's a lot of wet paint on there that needs to dry. Now they gave us these kind of off-white pipe cleaners to make the palm trees out of. But I think you were supposed to use the green crepe paper to make the pipe cleaner like leaves for the palm trees and the pipe cleaners with the trunks. Obviously they couldn't find brown. I couldn't find my brown crepe paper, though I did actually ironically find it a day later when I was putting the stuff away. But I found these, which are green pipe cleaners, which are blobby. They're like thick and thin. So I decided that I could make my palm trees out of these. They are very Blue Peter, and may I say, they're very cuddly. They're like cuddly palm trees. You just want to give them a good squidge. They look beautiful. You're like, oh, so cute and cuddly. Yay. But they don't look very realistic. I'm aware of that. That's why this is a Blue Peter one, because they don't look very real. But they are very quick and easy to do. I can't really complain about that. So I ended up with 4 of them. And I'm sure the crepe paper might have looked more realistic by the time I'd treated it in much the way I did with all the gloss Mod Podge. And if I'd found the brown crepe paper, I'd have put that around the trunks. But actually, I really like these. They were quick, they were easy. They're not anything serious modelling wise. Right, Oceanic, says Digger, rather than oceany. And Norm's response, don't get technical with me, Digger. So sprue and glue, who knows what fab stood for? I thought they just made it up. I thought it was just FAB because they wanted a word. But if I'm wrong, let me know. I do actually have 2 Haynes manuals. I think I lent one and got one back and couldn't find the other one. But I've got 2 Haynes manuals for these. Thunderbirds. They're just different editions of the same thing. And they're great fun to look at. I've got the Haynes manual for the Millennium Falcon as well. And that's also good. Thunderbirds 1906 project had Fab 1 visiting Tracy Island based on the Century 21 records. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one since like the 70s, so I don't really remember it at all, what happened in that one. Ramerson says, do you know the scales in that they are built? You can 3D scan them and then print them all in the same scale. Yeah, but I've got the kits in 1/350, but I don't want to have to 3D scan and then 3D print. If I've bought a plastic kit, because I don't want to 3D print it, because actually I love 3D printing, but for something that is smooth and big, sometimes I actually think plastic kits are just so much better quality than the 3D prints of the same things. It's just a different plastic, you get a different result, and sometimes just the smoothness on them without the layer lines can be really good. So yeah. The very fluffy palm trees, says Norm. Yes, they are very fluffy palm trees. The stated scale of fits the box is not easy to work out. I have no idea what the scale is for these. I did actually shrink down the STL, but I didn't pay attention to what I shrunk it down by. And I can't remember what the original scale was in. It might even have been in real scale. But the ones that I've got are almost 2 or 3 times the size, and they're 1/350. So this has got to be 1,000th scale or something. Just something ridiculous. So this is just me trimming the edges of them to get the glue off that had stuck to the foil. Because otherwise there's like a clear bit to the edge, which isn't looking very good. Ravenson says Fab stood for fabulous. It didn't. And Sprue Glue says Fab stood for Sprue and Glue said Fab stood for absolutely nothing at all. That's what I thought. So Norm says, does Fab mean fabulous like Fab 4? No, I'd heard it had no meaning. It was just FAB. They just picked something like, oh, it was fab, FAB. So yeah, I'd heard it had no meaning. There's some really good making ofs, sort of YouTube videos out there. You know, look at the Weta Workshop one for the latest Thunderbirds Are Go series. That was really cool. And it was an exhibition that's now ended. I'm hot gluing on a bit of magnet wire, which is brilliant wire. It's coated, so you can do electrical projects with it. You just need to scrape the coating off. And it's stiff enough that these will stand upright. It's not vastly stiff, but it does end up a little bit bendy, so I had to glue them in stages. So yeah. Shergel says, I always thought it meant something like fully acknowledged. That was the idea, that it was like, that's what the intent of it was, but I don't think it actually means anything. FAB could have been Roger, Roger, you know, like the B1 battle droids. It was just a set of letters and a word. I quite like the underwater side. It does feel really Blue Peter. And actually, does everybody know what I mean when I say Blue Peter? Because it is like a kids program from my childhood that I grew up with. But obviously, Americans probably don't know that. So they're famous for, they've been going since black and white era, so they've been going a long time. I think they're still going. And they're famous for doing builds out of fairy liquid bottles, except they're not allowed to call them that, so it would be a washing up liquid and they'd have blanked it out. Because back in those days, it was a long, tall white cylinder with a thing on. And then Fairy Liquid actually did an advert where the little boy wanted to make something out of the Fairy Liquid bottle and it just lasted longer, so it never ran out. So he'd be like coming back going, oh, as his mother did like 200 extra, lots of washing up. Compared to the old bottle. So yeah. Shergel, I had always thought it meant something like fully acknowledged. Roger was R in the phonetic alphabet and it was meant to be short for received. Yeah, but the phonetic alphabet I learned, and I'm aware there are several, was Romeo for R. So it must have been a different one. My dad said there was one that was cities. So it was cities of the world. So that must have been confusing when you were coming into that city. That was the one he used at sea. WW2 was before your time. I think it was before your time as well, Shergel. Don't think you're that old. But I did grow up in an era where there was still a lot of sort of war movies and stuff like that on. A lot of British made ones as well. Norman says, I just asked Grok and Fab really was an acknowledgement, like copy that. What, in real life or just in the Thunderbirds? Right, at this point, I'd had enough of the wood shaving. So this is like the Blue Peter version finished. And I was like, I hate these wood shavings. They look like grated carrot. They suck. They really suck. So this is a box of stuff I ripped off my ON30 modular. It's a bucket of it. And it's got a few little bushes and quite a lot of ripped off grass of different colours. So I glued them on. I glued the bushes on. They're the Woodland Scenics clumps that have already been glued once. So I glued everything in place to cover up that really nasty wood shavings. Now, I could have just skipped the wood shavings and gone straight to this step, but modelling is a journey, and this journey had a sort of side little track up to Wood Shaving City, and then we came back down to Leftover Grass City. Just in the Thunderbirds, says Norm. Right, yeah. That's definitely how they used it. FAB. Romeo was R in the NATO phonetic alphabet much later in 1956, says Shergel. I learn something every single day. You are a fount of knowledge. Wow. So these are 1, 2, 3 blocks I'm using at the front. They're apparently for machining, but they're brilliant square blocks and for holding stuff in place on the front of a diorama. I often like to do my sort of scenery coming over the edge of the diorama or to at least echo what's above it. In this case, I chose to come forward rather than just have a black rim. So that's why there's a lot going on there. Now, I wasn't sure how many bushes I had. So the bushes eventually only went on the left. This kind of ripped off grass, which is a grass mat. All the grass that's going on, apart from 1 or 2 clumps, which are silfloor clumps, all the grass that came off is sort of the ones that have got a woven back, and it may even be silfloor sheets because of the age. I'm trying to think if it was, and it was just really good stuff. Nowadays, people have taken it to the next level, and you can get them entire scenes on a mat and just plonk it down. And so those people who don't want to buy a static grass applicator, these types of mats are definitely the next best thing. And this was the nearest I could get to the Blue Peter ethos, was reusing stuff I already had that I'd used once in that sort of reuse, recycle type of sort of thought process. And these weights are just holding everything down because it's quite spongy. Sprue and glue. Jerry Anderson said in a TV interview it stood for nothing. I'm sure I've listened to that TV interview and heard that somewhere. I mean, what amazed me was that actually the marionettes are about yay big. They're a lot bigger than I thought they would be. Just like Thomas the Tank Engine's actually bigger than I thought. Does one get punished for using items not included in the box? No. The guys, it was a marketing company that got in touch. And they said, Corgi were very happy with it. They really liked it. And one other person got in touch on Instagram and said, oh, wow, I got that box, but I haven't done anything with it yet. And I saw on Instagram, I didn't go look on Facebook, using the tags that they said, I was about the only one that actually did anything that was tagged on Instagram. So I don't know how many people built with the boxes they got. I haven't seen any Tracy Islands out there, but the hashtag, I'm going to have to look again now, was, what was the hashtag? I will have looked it up, but you know, they don't do these. It was Corgi Thunderbirds 60, and there's, somebody else opening a box. So there's somebody opening a box with scissors, you know, just opening the box. Oh, look, here's what's in the box. And that's that. And all he does is, he actually puts the things in. Oh, and he shoots. And then he puts them on I don't know if I can actually show you this, but there we go. He puts them on that, which looks like something he might have made, like as a display. But wow, so he actually did put them on something, but not really. He's put Fab 1 on the Thunderbirds 2 bit out. The others just showed them off, and then Corgi Official just did nothing really on it. So that was it on Instagram. Somebody made, and maybe he did more on YouTube, I don't know. So yeah, there we go. And then Toy Peloy has a box and said he will be attempting Tracy Island. I think he was the person who got in touch with me and said he hadn't done anything yet. I think I wasn't going to get Tracy Island done for space reasons. I've looked at it and I've got a big plan to do a sort of montage of it in 1:350, and it was massive. But even in this scale, I couldn't get my head around what was I supposed to do with Fab 1 then? You know, it's just the wrong scale. Look at it, it's bigger than blooming Thunderbirds 2. So what I wanted, and someone called this poster art actually in the comments, and I think that's quite a good term for it. This is like poster art. It doesn't matter that they're all the wrong shapes and sizes. It is just a place for everything to have a home and to be a display. It doesn't matter that they're different scales when they're just in this. But yeah. Norm says, right, only Kathy showing up on Facebook with that tag as having done anything. Oh, thanks, Tim, for looking. So Norm says, well, good for you for following through so rapidly. They actually wanted it by the 30th of September, which was the anniversary. And mine went to patrons on the 30th of September and channel members. But it didn't actually go out live till the 1st of October. So I was a day late and feeling really bad about it. But yeah. Norm says the logo really makes this diorama. It does, and it was so easy to do. I used a font in Blender and did it. So this is, the R doesn't really show that much, but I was looking for an idea that wasn't Tracy Island, and I loved this. And I think sometimes, you know, this really says Thunderbirds to me in a display that works, as opposed to, oh, you know, and there's the blue tack going on. Just, you know, trying to do a massive diorama that your heart isn't into in 4 days. And it was a day late for all the glue drying. This was the blue card that he gave me. So somebody has done a Tracy Island, and it looks quite cool. But it's only a circle like this, the one that I saw on Instagram. It's not, and it's brown and green, and it's got blue at the bottom, but it hasn't got any, and it's got all the items on. So we did like a bay. Now, this is a sauce pot. These are really useful for mixing, and a bit of polyfiber, quilt padding, that is. And then I realised that was 3, and I actually wanted 1. So that was the wrong one. So yeah, excuse me, because this is the swimming pool. It's not quite straight, so I had to pull the polyfiber off a bit more. And 3, I hung a bit to the right, actually. I think I wish I'd gone a bit more to the middle. With fishing line, which I just hot glued on behind. Fishing line's brilliant from visible fixings. And these are removable. They are die cast collectibles. I didn't necessarily want to harm them or glue them in, so they're all just rested in place. None of them are glued, though I suspect 4 will be sticking to the Mod Podge maybe a little, because it was just perhaps maybe a little bit tacky still. And then Digger says, I agree, the logo really makes it pop. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun thing. So yeah, there we go, just fishing line glued. And I think it ended up moved a little bit over from where I kind of originally planned it, but there we go. Norm says, I do really look forward to your Tracy Island diorama, and I'm not getting any younger, Kathy. Yeah, I think City also looks forward to being built. I need to get on and do some more modelling, especially if I do want my 100k subscribers. So I need to get on and do them. Scut City is definitely going to get done because I'm quite a fan of Scut City getting done a bit more. But I need to go through and mend quite a few of the dioramas from the building works from a few years ago, and they're fine, but a few bits are broken and stuff that I need to fix. Oh, yeah. It was hot, that's why I let go. I think I ended up a bit more upright than originally. But anyway, there we go. Yeah, unfortunately, I think the 3 is upside down. I think it has to fly the other way to get the 3 the right way around. But 4, now how was I going to do 4? I could do fishing line from above, but I didn't want to glue anything to it. So I was going to do this straw and then put a magnet in the top and... discovered that die casts aren't magnetic because they don't have any iron in them. So I had to make a little platform instead with the straw rather than gluing a magnet in the top of it, which was, perfectly doable. And I did manage to do it. So I worked out it's not the prettiest thing. It's definitely not the prettiest thing, but it is firm enough for Thunderbird 4 to stay upright on, and that's the important thing. It hasn't fallen off yet, which is good. It hasn't fallen over yet, so that's also good. So there we go. So yeah, this was really Blue Petering. And then I was like, okay, it's a green straw, and it's a bit of green corrugated card, but realistically it needs to go in with the crepe paper. So I covered it in crepe paper, which was just so funny. I'm like, yep, okay, just cover it in crepe paper. There we go. I was originally going to do a little bit different. I'm still using that foil. I've actually used the foil since for a different project. It adds a base for things. So it is really useful. Gloss Mod Podge. I mean, the reason people choose Mod Podge over white glue is that it is a little more solid when it's set, because it's more of a varnish in there as well, which can help with people just who want to, you know, put like water and you want to be able to clean it afterwards or something. It can be quite useful. So there we go. Oops. Yeah, I've got to say it's still not easy to paint, but right. And then Shergel, being a submarine, Thunderbird 4 is titanium and not steel. Maybe, but I yeah. Apparently the original die casts were hollow underneath. It was just like stamped down. But these have got a bottom and two like push rivets, you know, where they've obviously put a top onto a bottom. I mean, they're nice models. I don't generally do die cast particularly. It's never been something I've particularly got into, but they are quite nice models, so I'm not going to complain. Yeah, no excuse for the model though. Yeah. Look at that. I can't believe, yeah, here we are. We are watching paint dry, folks, or glue dry in this instance. I'm just trying to make it look glossy like the rest. Ah, there we go. So, I mean, it's like, oh, I was trying to do the two sides there because I want to mask the roundness of that with a flatter bit out the front, because although the sort of thing is round, the rest of it is all, the algae is all sort of flat. So I felt it needed to be a similar motif. So this is me trying to get it done ready so I could put it in place so I could take the final photos, because I was getting a bit tight on time. And really it was the video editing that I just didn't get around to doing, but it kept sticking. Glue, hey? Trying to glue every side at once. It's quite funny watching it back. Yeah, as Spock would say, fascinating. So these are the items I didn't use. I didn't notice the black pen. I didn't use the paper fasteners. I have used that plant pot saucer under a plant pot. It's over there at the moment in its glory. But I hadn't used the rest. So I'd used almost everything apart from the paper plate, the labels, the paper fasteners, and that plant pot. And I think I used everything else. So I did really well out of the box of craft goodies. But actually one of the things they wanted you to make was paper mache. And I just went, oh, I'll never get that dry in time, paper mache, to actually be able to create anything. But obviously the other guy who'd done one had managed to, so fair play to him. Just dolloping that glue. Yep. Not bad. There we go. And then I think there's just one more bit to go in at the front to hide that straw. It actually disappears quite a lot once you've got that in there. There we go. I didn't see it put it in. Maybe it's still on the worktop. So there we go. That is the whole diorama done. It is very kitsch. It's certainly not high class scale modelling, and those palm trees are just furry. They look better from above. But actually, I think what it did what it wanted to. It achieved a diorama in a very short amount of time that displays all of these and looks in keeping with Thunderbirds, which is also quite janky, if I'm honest. It has a very retro feel. So actually, I was really happy how it came out when I'd replaced the wood shavings. And, you know, there's some things that aren't perfect, but it gets there. It gets the job done. So there we go. everything, Raymondson says, everything in Thunderbirds is so atomic. It is, all powered by atomic energy. Nuclear was the power of the future. As you say, back then it was. Brava, says Norm. Thank you very much. Very, very, actually, yeah, it was done really quickly. I think it shows. But it was 2 or 3.5 days of modelling probably, or, afternoons quite often. Because I didn't start it till the Saturday and the video was finished by Monday night. Maybe I started it on the Friday. It didn't get, it was quite a push to get it done. So it didn't have as much care and attention. But sometimes dioramas should just be fun. In some ways, it's a display location for the die-cast models as much as it is a model in itself. And because of that logo, I think it will stand on its own as a really cool diorama. And actually, your eye goes to the logo and the rest of it kind of fades because it's all in greens and blues and blacks. So it kind of does fade. And then you've got Thunderbird 2. So the palm trees is probably the kitsch thing. But yeah. Norm says it was fun watching you model again. Thanks, Norm, because one of the problems now is everything I do is designed for 3D printing. So what you get is, here's me painting a 3D print. Here's me painting a 3D print. Here's me painting a 3D print. And it does get quite repetitive. So what I'm hoping to do is finish off some of the models I've got that they're probably all 3D print elements in them, but are probably just slightly more interesting. I tried to get a mantis, which is a halo mech, basically, to go with my World of Halos. I've got the explosion. My blooming Titanfall Funko Pop fell off and landed on the tree and broke it off, so that's another one that needs fixing. That Funko Pop, it's BT, always leans forward off. They're on my mantelpiece. Like, this is horses. It's Titanfall mechs in the front room, and the Halo one's underneath. So it's got a massive explosion in it, and it's, the fire one. I've got the mongoose going through water, and I've got an air one, and I was actually going to do an air one with it floating through air somehow. I don't know whether I'd levitate it or what. So plans to do that one. And again, I've got so much stuff owned and bought. I just need to do some of the projects. I've got V Squad. I've actually got a half-done Grievous wheel bike. It's a Hokusa model, I think. And Obi-Wan, which I was supposed to do for the Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary. And I went to see it in April, May time. May, presumably, because it's May the 4th. And no, it's still not done. It's been on the side. And actually I started doing it with someone I was tutoring, but then we stopped doing tutoring. So I haven't pushed it forward. So I have a lot of models that I'm hoping over the next month or two, I might be able to get on and get them done. It's like this week, I've got another 10 days, 9 days maybe now, left on Outbound Station. And I'd like to do, at some point in that, an Aliens diorama, but based on the Jurassic Park when she's hiding in the kitchen cupboard. And I've got a kitchen unit I've already done, but what I'd like to do is do almost a butt nook, but I don't need it to be that tall, but maybe a, just her, you don't actually see, you just see the reflection of her in a stainless steel cupboard, and you see the alien on top. So I'll need to play a bit to see how you would see that. But anyway, there we go. So what else have we got? It's fab, says Jeffrey. Thank you very much. Sammy Model Maker made very good palm trees some years ago. I have actually made 3D print palm trees, which was fun. I have some really exquisite ones. And I've actually made my own. Halo over there has some. Oh, it wasn't Halo. I've somewhere in one of my dioramas I've got loads of. Maybe it was yeah. I have made something palm tree-ish out myself. It might have been that one. Out of cut on a Brother Scan and Cut. And it's hard in the scales I used to model, which are smaller. Now I'm doing larger scales for the tabletop, which is 1 to 48. It's a lot easier. But yeah, there's some great methods out there for palm trees. I think the best ones I saw were Luke Towan's at the time, and I copied his method. And he came back to me afterwards and said, I don't know how you got your plastic to sit on such a large sheet of paper, because I tried it and it just wouldn't sit. It's like, oh, it was so hard, and you made it look so easy, and the truth is out. But yeah, True Jeffrey, I presume that's the It's Fab. Sprue and Glue says, Lindsay says it looks good. He is watching on the big TV. Ah, well, that's good. Thank you. UFO dioramas next, please. I don't actually have any UFO models, so I have a lot of dioramas, and some things, I've got some full-size droids I need to finish. So there may be, I've still got the 6-foot battle droid that needs doing, which is a lot of tidying up of some quite crappy prints, sadly. So I think they need doing. The Titanfall helmet, the Wheel, Grievous and Obi-Wan are on the go. There's quite a lot of clone dioramas, an ATTE printed Lat needs a diorama. I've got Scut City, which is floor to ceiling, 8 foot by 3 foot of like literally floor to ceiling, 8 foot by 3 foot of display space to finish off or start or do. And yeah, I've got 2 rooms full of kits. So I'm not sure on dioramas. So there we go. Oh, gosh. Look at that. Norm says, wow, 2 hours whizzed by. And I'm like, look at the time. It is nearly 10 o'clock. It's not, oh, it's L now, isn't it? Sorry, it's L, says Ravenson Express. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Luke became L, which is really, really brilliant for him. So that's true. I'd forgotten. So yeah, he's L Towan Norm, and he's still on YouTube. He's on there. You just need to look up ELLE Towan. Oh, you said Eileen, but I thought it was L. ELLE originally. Has they changed their name again? Boulder Creek. Okay, it is L. Right, guys, don't look at Eileen. It's L, ELLE, which actually is a really clever name because Luke began with an L. L means female. There's a lot of really cleverness about it, and it was Boulder Creek Railroad as well. Yeah. And I don't, I think they've got a busy job, and obviously they've been through a lot of life changes, and they weren't posting as much. But you have to be inspired to post, and I haven't posted as much. I think YouTube burns people out. It demands a lot, and it isn't really great for your mental health. And if he's gone through a big transition like that to where he is now, that is a big thing, and I think it takes a lot of energy to do that. And then trying to hold a YouTube channel. Plus, he's an airline pilot, remember, so he has a day job, or she has a day job. Sorry, I should get her gender pronouns right. She has a day job now. It's just hard. So yeah, I think there's a lot going on there. I'm on her Patreon free thing, so every now and then she will put something out, and I'm really sorry I forgot. If you're watching this, Elle, really sorry I forgot you changed. But yeah, it is a shame, Norm, they haven't posted. But then I think, great believer, there are seasons in life, and I just guess Elle's not in that season right now, and maybe they'll come back. I look at all my boxes of stuff and think, I hope I come back to some of these things I used to be inspired by. And often when I rewatch the same thing that inspired me the first time, I do. But Timber's right, the channel's called Boulder Creek Railroad. So there we go. So guys, it is 10 o'clock. Thank you for sticking through this. I hope you enjoyed it. It took an 8-minute video and made it into 2 hours. So, that's good. I will have some modelling hopefully next time as well. Hopefully. But this month is flying past. It'll be the alien diorama. So, yeah, let's hope. And then thanks again to Timber, Digger and Norm, my moderators. You guys are fab. FAB. So see you next time, guys. Thank you, guys, and have a great rest of the month.